Zoom or calling.
Flag of our country with me, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
And if there are any members of the public wishing to address the council on items on the consent calendar, comments must be restricted to items on this calendar for consent only. There's only one item tonight. So please raise your hand if you wish to address the council on the consent calendar. I will give 2 minutes for the public to raise their hands. All right, the time in which to sign up for the consent calendar comments is now closed. Are there any speakers on the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, there are none.
Okay, Does anybody on council wish to remove this for discussion on any level? There appear to be none. Madam Vice Mayor, will we have a motion on the consent calendar and approval of the agenda, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move approval of the consent calendar and the agenda.
Please take the roll.
Mayor McConnell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Verder Aliga.
Aye.
Council members Ariola.
Aye.
Brown.
Yes.
Dew.
Yes.
Diaz.
Yes.
Meisner. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We will now move into the action item. We're going to start the sign-up clock at this time, and it will continue until the later of either the completion of the presentation by staff or 2 minutes, whichever is longer. So with that, is there a presentation on this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that's left to me as the only person in the room.
It's all yours.
Thank you. The item before you this evening is consideration and possible approval of a resignation and separation agreement between the city and City Manager Nyhoff. As council is aware, Mr. Nyhoff's employment agreement began in 2017 and currently has a term, or January of 2018, and currently has a term that is scheduled to end in January of 2023. At this time, both the city and Mr. Nyhoff wish to go our separate ways. Hence this resignation and separation agreement. The agreement provides in substantive form as follows. The payment to Mr. Nyhoff of the salary, which he would have otherwise been paid through the end of the employment agreement, in two sums, basically split between a sum now and a sum payable in January of 2022. The equivalent of 528.9 hours of vacation time, his housing allowance, which is ever so slightly reduced from the 19 months, an automobile allowance that is equal only to 6 months, his ICMA dues, and payment of the amount that would have been paid into CalPERS in association with his employment through the end of the term, and payment of his COBRA health benefits through the end of the original employment agreement. So what essentially it is with some exceptions and reductions, it is paying out the substance of his contract through the end of its term. Each of those items, as I've described them, were items of benefit or payment under his original contract. The resignation and separation agreement also reimburses him for attorney's fees spent to date in the amount of $15,000. There are mutual releases contained within the agreement for both parties, and a cooperation agreement for Mr. Nyhoff's for future participation in any of the litigation items and or other items that the city requires his participation in exchange for an amount that is equal to his hourly rate for hours worked on those items. In addition, Mr. Nyhoff has agreed to address some declarations on our behalf as we move into those items before he separates. So we don't have to keep going back to him, if you will. We will know what the words are or the issues are that he has with regard to those items. And those would obviously be part of litigation privilege. With regard to that, anything more, I can answer any questions that the council may have with regard to this item.
Thank you, Ms. Nab. Are there any questions from any council members? There do not appear to be any council members who have any questions at this time. So I will now close the sign-up period for anyone who wishes to speak on this item. And staff, can you tell me how many people we have who have indicated a desire to speak on this item?
Mr. Mayor, we have 2 speakers.
All right, we'll give them 4 minutes each then. Please call them in order.
Melissa Swift, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Council members, you heard my thoughts on Tuesday, and this deal is just as bad as we thought. Greg Nyhoff has given dozens of causes for termination, has likely committed state and federal crimes, has opened the city up to over $50 million in legal liabilities, and is personally named as a defendant in 4 lawsuits. I hope you realize this is not normal. It's not normal for a city manager to be personally named in 4+ lawsuits because of his direct actions. And yet this person is being allowed to resign with payment of his full contract and benefits and will be fully indemnified against further litigation. So not only can the city not take action against him if it comes out that he committed crimes, the city is going to pay him for assistance in defending the lawsuits against him. Why on earth would we give him that? I share the general sentiment of the community that it's a positive development to have Nyhoff gone, but he shouldn't get a payout. He's clearly out, so why are we bending over backwards to meet his demands? When this agreement was negotiated, who was representing the people of Vallejo? City Attorney Nebb wasn't, because no reputable attorney would advise this. Ann Cardwell, who you'll likely appoint as interim city manager in a few minutes, is just as bad as Nyhoff after covering up and enabling his behavior for years. If you're wondering how the community feels, go on any social media platform, Facebook, Nextdoor, Twitter. There are hundreds of community members expressing outrage at Nyhoff's sweetheart deal. The community wants you to stand up to Nyhoff, so why aren't you? As I've said before, we're in a much better position with our new mayor and 2 new council members, and for that I am grateful. The voters were able to make a positive change, and I hope that even if this agreement is a done deal, that Mayor McConnell and council members Diaz and Ariola will vote against it in a principled stand and in solidarity with the community. And to all 7 of you, if you're afraid he'll sue, let him. Make him pay out of pocket for a lawyer. Make him take a number and get in the long line of plaintiffs that he himself created. He doesn't have a case. And if you're worried that standing up to Nyhoff now will give the city a bad reputation and potentially drive away future city manager candidates, the reality is just the opposite. Allowing a crook like Nyhoff to ride out of town on a golden parachute sends a message that officials can come to Vallejo, rob taxpayers blind, and then when they fail to deliver on promises, can leave town with their full contract paid and completely insulated against legal repercussions. I'm sure there are dozens of parasites eager to take his job. You'll have let the fox out of the henhouse, but left the door wide open for wolves. The best thing we can do to move Vallejo forward is to stand up to Nyhoff and show the community and future city officials that corruption, discrimination, harassment, and bullying will not be tolerated in Vallejo. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our second speaker.
Ann Carr, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So it's there's no good solution here, and I think that many people have been calling for Nyhoff's resignation for a while now. I think what is shocking is to have learned belatedly that Nyhoff had written into his contract a 1-year golden parachute where even if he was fired, he would get an extra year. That's pretty shocking. And at this point, all I can say is I hope going forward, we have stricter contracts and don't reward someone for bad performance. I'm not going to go into the laundry list of things that concern me about his management, but I do think coming away from this and really a situation which makes no one happy, I think hopefully we can learn some lessons. And one is we need better contracts. We need better screening of who our candidates are for managerial positions. We need more community involvement. Across the board with our contracts, we need to look at limiting the sick and vacation time payouts that we do. It's completely out of step with the private sector. You don't see anything even remotely close to that. And I think with respect to this specific agreement, one thing that a friend, Paula Bauer, has mentioned that would really be helpful is to break the payout payment into smaller chunks, say 3 chunks, and make sure that you've gotten the legal cooperation that you think you're getting. Because if you pay everything complete in January 2022 and you still have litigation going on that you want his cooperation on, you may be holding the bag. So I would suggest that you don't make the final payout until the end of his contract, which would be January 2023. In terms of the top things that I hope we look for in a new city manager, obviously, we need someone who has prudent financial management and isn't recklessly spending our reserves and bringing us to close to bankruptcy. Obviously, we need someone who does not conceal police abuse and put us in a worse position with respect to litigation. And we need someone who respects the community and takes heed from it, which is not something I can say we have had with Nyhoff. I think he's been defiant about the community. And those are just the top three things. But for council, I truly hope you look for ways to involve the community in the selection of the next manager, and also do better screening and make sure you don't hire someone who had basically given a lot of contracts to the recruiting firm, and so that person's name was top of mind. It's a sad day, and I again, there's no good solution here. I think with the payout that you have, you're basically giving Nyhoff an extra 6 months that he wouldn't have gotten without his contract, but the contract with that 1-year golden parachute in it should not happen again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
Mr. Mayor, there's one additional speaker.
Speaker, and close the sign up list at this time.
Brad Beltane, go ahead.
Well, because this was negotiated in private, I don't know all the details, but it seems like the city in signing this would be giving away its rights to sue for any actions that Nyhoff may have done that are in violation of ethics or law. I think that would be an extremely bad idea. I think it would be very hasty to give out, both do that and give out such a large amount of the city's reserves or city's allocation for city manager payment ahead of time. I yield my time.
Thank you very much. That will conclude the speakers. Council, do we have any questions at this time or comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may add a comment in response to two of the speakers, just for their information as well as the council's. Paragraph 10 of the agreement provides that this is the provision that provides for the general release of claims. It also carves out of that general release any liability arising out of the violation of any state, federal, or local law, rule, or regulation, the violation of which could give rise to criminal prosecution. So in that regard, we've heard a couple of speakers be concerned about if there was illegal activity or activity that could have given rise to prosecution, that we would be releasing that, and that is specifically accepted from the release in this agreement.
Thank you very much. Any comments from council members at this time? Councilmember Diaz.
I just want to say that that I'm hearing what everybody's saying, and I want you to know that accepting Greg Nyhoff's resignation, is a very difficult decision for me to make. But at this point, his resignation, I think, is in the best interest of the city. And moving forward, we will now be able to make a selection of a new city council manager that will have shared council and community best interest for the future. And I want you to know that, united, we are stronger. And if we're not united, our city will fall. There's a lot of things that are looked at when making these difficult decisions. And I just want you to know that we have looked at everything. And when we vote today, we will be doing so, keeping in mind the best interest of our residents and keeping in mind the best interest of our city. We all want to see it move forward. That's the reason that we're here. I would not have ran if that was not my intent. So it's a difficult decision, and it's one that we're going to do in a few minutes. And I just want to let you know that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Diaz. Anyone else? Yes, Councilmember Dew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo a lot of my colleagues' comments, Councilmember Diaz's comments. And I just want to say that I look forward to the next chapter as we focus on, fiscal responsibility and economic development, looking at how to grow our general fund revenues through business attraction, retention, and expansion, and focusing on our development projects, of which we have almost $1 billion worth of projects in the pipeline. And that is going to require an intense, unified focus moving forward and moving our city and our community forward in a positive light. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Councilmember Dew. I believe the community is aware that the council is fully united in pursuing economic development and will work extremely hard to see that that happens. Vice Mayor Berta-Aliga.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo comments of my colleagues, Councilmember Dew and Councilmember Diaz. I agree, it's a very difficult time in our city. However, I believe that we need to move forward. We close this chapter in our city in terms of our city manager. And we're looking forward to new opportunities, greater opportunities for the city and our community. And we feel a renewed sense of dedication. We have Ann Cardwell as our acting city manager. And this council is dedicated and committed to moving forward with our economic development projects, as well as make sure that we move to implement the goals that we have set at our last goal setting session. So with that, I will support the approval of his resignation and the terms of the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else to make any comments at all? Yes, Councilmember Meisner.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I want to echo the comments of my colleagues. This is a difficult time and it's a difficult decision. And one of the things that I really want to stress is, as Councilmember Diaz said, we need to be united, and we just don't have a lot of bandwidth in the city. We're not a rich city. So we need to be as smart as we can. And when we're not united, when we're separated and fighting, it makes it really difficult to make things become successful. And the world is watching us. And I think moving forward, if we work together, we can really achieve great things. So I also appreciate some of the things actually that Greg Nyhoff brought to the city. We have to acknowledge that things that we're working on now were started under his watch. So just want to acknowledge that, and then we'll move forward to whoever the next person is. And I'm very grateful that we're going to have Ann Cardwell be our acting city manager for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment at this time? Well, I have painfully and long considered this carefully. It's been a very difficult decision. And I thought long and hard about this and many options, including some personal ones. I am in agreement with the letter of resignation, and I do support that resignation. However, as to the compensation package, my vote is a definite and decided no, and will be. Thank you very much. We'll proceed to the roll call. Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Verder-Aliga.
Yes.
Council members Ariola,
No. Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dew,
Yes.
Councilmember Diaz,
Yes.
Meisner,
Yes.
Mayor McConnell.
No.
Motion carries with Mayor McConnell opposed.
All right, then that will conclude the action of this special meeting of the Vallejo City Council. I thank you all very much, and we are now adjourned at 6:57. I will remind the people, this council, that we have a 6:45 closed session. You'll have to sign off and re-sign on again. Thank you very much. We'll see you at 6:45.